My name is Tim, aka Sensient, and yeah, I run Zenon Records, produce music as well. Been doing this for nearly 20 years now. Yeah, somehow I feel like it represents my music in some sort of abstract way. I released one track under another name. It's quite an embarrassing name, so don't look it up. And I was going to university studying drums. And it was basically the psytrance that I was hearing at the parties. There was a lot of good sort of progressive psytrance around back then, yeah.
How did the idea about starting your label come up, and what was it founded on?
And I also wanted to push that sound in Australia, so I just took that and put a Z on the front, and that was it. Yeah, there's almost too much music to release at the moment. You have to listen to each track all the way through. So yeah, the label's journey is my journey.
Do you have a favorite artist on your label? Maybe 3 favorite ones?
I had a whole tour lined up for the year, but as soon as I could see that wasn't going to happen, we decided to get on a plane and come home as soon as we could.
Is Zenon Records a cult? Hello everybody from Stomping Grounds 2022 in New South Wales. This is the first interview of the night. I'm very excited and a little bit nervous. Brother, please introduce yourself.
My name is Tim, aka Sensient, and yeah, I run Zenon Records, produce music as well. Been doing this for nearly 20 years now. Yeah, so I've been around. Yeah.
What do you think about the party so far, and what was your set? Seems like it was a little bit of mixture of a few things. What was it?
Yeah, my set was a DJ set, and so it was mostly unreleased, upcoming Zenon music. Yeah, from a variety of artists, and also some release stuff that I haven't been able to play out yet, because this is my first gig in 9 months because of the pandemic and lockdown and everything. So yeah, I had a bunch of music that I've been sort of itching to play out, and tonight was my chance. Yeah, and the party looks cool. It's like a nice underground vibes, and I heard that they had to change their location once or twice, so they've done pretty well to do what they've done. Yeah.
In this interview, I would like to talk to you a little bit about your career as an artist, as well as about Zenon Records. Maybe let's start with you first. So, your artist name, Sensient, what does it mean? How did it come about? What does it represent?
It doesn't really have a meaning. I just kind of came up with it. There's a word, sentient, which it's similar to, but I didn't really base it from that. So it's basically just a word that I thought sounded cool, but also a word that I kind of thought represented the music that I make. Yeah, somehow I feel like it represents my music in some sort of abstract way, so I think it works. I think it's a good name for my music.
So this artist name, did you come up with it when you started producing your own music, or before, or how did your music journey begin? Tell me a little bit about that.
It's not actually my first artist name. I released one track under another name. It's quite an embarrassing name. It was Psychic, so Psykik. So don't look it up, anyone. But so that was my first release. So that was, I started producing music probably 1998 or 99. I was living up in the Byron Bay area, and I was going to university studying drums, and then my brother took me to a big doof called The Dawning, and yeah, it kind of blew my mind, and so I decided I wanted to try and make that music, and I bought a computer and got Fruity Loops and started on my musical journey.
Talking about the production, are you still using Fruity Loops today to produce, or another software?
No, I switched to Cubase pretty early, probably in 2003 or 4. Then I switched to Ableton probably in 2012, I think. Yeah, and I'm still on Ableton now. Yeah.
When you began to produce your music, what kind of what genre or subgenre was it, or what were you interested in producing at that time when you first started?
Yeah, I mean, it was basically the psytrance that I was hearing at the parties, and back then the stuff I was really into, I mean, Emok and Benel from Iboga Records, they were around, and I really liked the music they were playing. The Iboga music back in those days was very deep and psychedelic. I really liked their stuff. Then there's some other old school DJs and producers that people might not know anymore. Only, yeah, some people would, but like labels like Spiral Tracks, the guy who owned that, his name is Anti. He was someone whose sets I loved, and Digital Structures, Peter Digital. Yeah, there was a lot of good sort of progressive psytrance around back then. Yeah.
So that was still in the 90s you were talking about?
No, by now this would have been 2001, 2002. So in the very early days, 98, 99, I was listening to, I don't know, like Uber Tamar, Digitalis, Shakta, a group called Moksha Project. That's some of the really early stuff, yeah, that I can remember listening to, yeah.
So how, when you first started producing, how was it getting into the scene? Was it difficult? Did you have to work your butt off and play all these gigs? How was it back then?
So I moved to Melbourne in 2001, so I didn't do many gigs up in Byron while I was still living there. I was making music, but yeah, occasionally I would get one of my tracks played at a party or something. But yeah, I wasn't really gigging much, if at all. So yeah, I moved to Melbourne 2001 to try and yeah, broaden my horizons and push the music. Yeah, and that's when I started getting some more gigs. I think Ozzy from Tribadelic might have given me my first gig down there. So yeah, always grateful to him for that. And from then on, yeah, I started getting more and more gigs in Melbourne, and that's when it started really rolling. Yeah.
So how did the idea about starting your label come up, and what was it founded on?
I think so Zenon started in 2003, and around that time some of the labels that I'd really looked up to and admired had started changing their style a bit and going a bit less twisted underground minimal sound and a bit more fluffy, a bit more commercial, and that wasn't really what I was into. So I wanted to keep that kind of darker minimal style going, and I had a lot of contacts already from being an artist in the scene and doing some tours and stuff. So I knew that I had some contacts and connections with artists, and I also wanted to push that sound in Australia, because there wasn't really anyone pushing that sound in Australia. So that was some of the reasons, yeah.
Did you come up with the name Zenon, and what does it represent?
Again, I came up with it, but it has no really special meaning. There's a computer game, old school computer game called Zenon with an X. So I just took that and put a Z on the front, and that was it. Yeah.
So what is it? What is it currently like? How many people do you have working full time for you? How many part time? How many graphic designers? How many artists are there? It seems to be pretty big.
It is getting pretty big, and I'm the only person kind of running the label. But obviously, yeah, I have some graphic designers that I use, mastering engineers that I use, and then obviously lots of artists that I work with and DJs as well. At the moment there's around probably 35 artists, I think 16 DJs on the label, and yeah, there's a bunch of other artists I guess that I work with that aren't officially signed yet. There's basically, yeah, there's almost too much music to release at the moment. As the label grows and gets bigger, more and more people hear the sound, more and more people get into the sound and want to produce that music. So yeah, I'm getting more and more music coming in than I ever have, and there almost is too much quality music to release. But I think I do release everything that deserves to be released on Zenon, but yeah, there's more than ever. Yeah.
So who does all the, like, if you get sent all the demos, who goes through them? You personally?
Yeah, that's me. I go through them. So it's a very time-consuming process, and but I know pretty quickly if something is up to scratch or not. I can tell, you know, within the first 20 seconds or 10 seconds if something really isn't there. If something might be there, then I have to give it a bit more time. And if something is almost there or there, then obviously I have to listen to the whole track, which is very time consuming. You have to listen to each track all the way through. Yeah. So, but if I listen to the whole track, that means it's really good. Yeah.
So where do you think you are currently at in your music career? And a second sub question: where do you think the label is at? Is it at the peak? Is it? Let's start with you personally. Are you at the peak, or you still have a lot of goals? And
I'm kind of focusing more on the label these days. So the journey of the label is also my journey as an artist and as a DJ. I haven't been producing as much music lately because the label is pretty much a full-time job these days. So yeah, the label's journey is my journey. I don't think the label has peaked. I don't know how big it's going to get, but it's still going upwards. Yeah, so, and I'm kind of riding with that as Sensient, because Sensient is the guy who does Zenon, so I'm kind of riding with the label. Yeah, and it's going up. I don't know how long it's going to keep going up. Hopefully a long time, but yeah, it's looking good at the moment. Yeah.
That's awesome. Do you have a favorite artist on your label? Maybe 3 favorite ones?
It's hard saying that because then all the other artists will get angry. Personally, I really love an artist called Neurolab. It's 2 guys from France. They're pretty new to the label, but I really just love their sound. It's just a sound that really gets me going for my personal taste. I think Spiral Life is an amazing musician and producer. So yeah, a long-time fan of him. One more. There's just too many, really. Yeah, I'll leave it at that. There's too many.
Fair enough. If you were in the same room with Scott Morrison, what would you say to him?
Wow, politics. Very controversial. Okay. Yeah, I would say to him, there's a protest happening in Canberra this weekend, and I'd probably would like to be there because I don't agree with what he's doing with this country. So I would say end the mandates. I'll leave it at that. I don't like the mandates. Yeah.
How is the future looking up for you in terms of gigs playing and for the label artists? Probably a lot of bookings, I presume.
Starting to be more bookings. Obviously, things slowed down the last 2 years with the pandemic. As I said, this was my first gig in 9 months, but I've got 6 or 7 lined up for the rest of the year, and I guess there'll be more as well. So yeah, there's a lot more bookings coming now. Personally, I'm probably just going to stay in Australia for now. I've got a young family, and it's kind of a complicated time to be travelling overseas. So I think for me, I'll just be doing gigs in Australia for now. But yeah, there's sort of gigs happening. Yeah, a lot of the artists that are based overseas are starting to get more and more gigs everywhere. So yeah, it's good that things are starting to happen again. Yeah.
So as I understand, you recently spent some time overseas in Germany, in Berlin. What was that? That was a music-related move, as I understand. How was it, and what made you come back?
Yeah, I lived in Berlin for 5 years, and I moved over there to be closer to the scene, to the European scene. It's closer to everywhere. It's obviously closer to Europe, closer to Mexico, Brazil. It's closer to everywhere, basically. So yeah, and I did a lot of gigging over there. It was great for that reason. Really, really good spot to to just get really busy and do a lot of touring. Also a really inspirational city, lots of creative people there, lots of artists. So I had a really inspired time there. And but when the pandemic started in March 2020, me and my family decided to come home. We were already planning on coming home in September that year. I had a whole tour lined up for the year, but as soon as I could see that wasn't going to happen, we decided to get on a plane and come home as soon as we could.
What do you think about European music scene compared to Australian music scene in terms of the sound and also in terms of people?
The psytrance scene is, I just think it's fairly similar. It's not that different. It's like, obviously, I think it's a little bit more professional in Europe, but Australia is getting better in that regard. Since I've come back to Australia, some of the gigs I've done, the organisation has been more professional than before I went to Berlin. So there's definitely been some progress there. But there's lots of different scenes in Europe, lots of different countries, and it varies from country to country. In general, it's probably a bit more professional over there. Yeah.
I have been hearing this term Zenon-esque. Can you tell me what does it mean and who came up with it? How did it come about?
I didn't come up with it. A guy called Basilisk, DJ Basilisk, he runs Ectoplasm, a website called Ectoplasm, and he came up with it as a way to categorise Zenon sounding music. And so people started using it, and I'm kind of using it now as well. Kind of using it. Yeah, why not? Yeah.
Do you think this word describes all of the music that Zenon Records releases?
Most of it, I think. Yeah. The music on Zenon it's pretty wide. Like there's a wide variety of sound, from the really kind of dark, crunchy nighttime prog like Hypogeo. Then you have like the kind of melodic daytime bush prog like Merkaba or something. And that's a pretty different sound, but they're still both recognisable as Zenon Records. So it's interesting that there's such a wide variety of sound. And Zenon-esque, I guess, can be used for all of it. Yeah.
Can you explain me what is prog?
Prog, it's just short for progressive trance, or let's say progressive psytrance. Or a lot of people call Zenon music dark prog or dark progressive as well. Yeah.
Also, would you bush prog? Would that be part of Zenon Records?
Definitely, bush prog would be some of it as well. Yeah.
Is Zenon Records a cult?
It's not a cult for me. Some people might form their own cult around Zenon, and if they want to do that, that's their prerogative. Yeah. I'm not the leader though, so yeah.
Well, brother, thank you very much for talking to me. Thank you very much for playing this set. Awesome. I wish you as an artist and your label Zenon Records all the best. Love the sound. Keep doing it. All the best. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, man. Thank you. Yeah.
Questions, but I needed to, keep it interesting. Thank you.
I'll probably lose some fans over my answer.
No, man, the music is gonna. No, music overrides everything.
Yeah, good.
For sure. Enjoy the rest of your weekend.
So let me know if you publish it or what you do with it.
I forgot. I should have asked Tim on camera. Are you going to accept my Facebook friend request now that we've met in person?
I'm maxed out, sorry, no more friends.
Too bad. All right, no worries. Well, fair enough.